I received the Comic Bento box for June. This month's theme was time travel, so let's crack it open and see what's inside. So let's start off by taking a look at my least favorite book in this box, and that is Terminator Revolution, which apparently takes place after Terminator 2. I don't know, it didn't do it for me at all. Not the least, we have this goofy looking Terminator here, the T Infinity. The story's just sort of bland. I don't know, maybe I have Terminator fatigue. The last couple movies haven't been that great. It's a very cool franchise, which just overall has not been handled well in recent years. The story didn't grab me at all, and the art is fairly irritating with its constant gratuitous nipple shots. Nipples, nipples, nips, nipples, nips, nips, gratuitous and unnecessary nips, 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 double nipples. Oh, there they are. Don't forget the nipples. So yeah, there you have it. It's just hard to take serious when the whole thing looks like it was drawn by a 13-year-old boy. If I had actually bought this, I'd be fairly disappointed. Next up, we have Captain Midnight. Now, this was interesting. I've never really read a Captain Midnight. I've never listened to Captain Midnight. Captain Midnight was actually back in World War II. He was a radio serial, one of those sponsored by Ovaltine, radio shows. So he was, and very similar. He actually predates Captain America, which is interesting. So he's been around for quite a while, but recently Dark Horse apparently brought him back. Now, this was not a bad story, but it was, even though he predates Captain America, this story was actually very reminiscent of Captain America, because basically it opens up with a pilot flying a regular, like a routine run around the Bermuda Triangle, and then boom, all of a sudden Captain Midnight's plane from the 1940s comes flying out of the Bermuda Triangle, and then they go through the whole like, oh, what year is it? This is weird, blah blah blah, and it's an interesting story, but it's unfortunately bringing Captain Midnight, a World War II hero, into present days feels very reminiscent of the whole Steve Rogers storyline. And it doesn't help that his costume is a little goofy, his name's pretty goofy. It's a good story nonetheless, but I think I would have preferred reading about Captain Midnight actually in World War II, as opposed to bringing him into present day a la Captain America. That brings us to the Valiant, put out by none other than Valiant Comics. I remember reading a few Valiant comics back in the 90s, XO, Man of War, and Magnus and the whatnot. I didn't stick with them. I didn't think that any of their heroes particularly stood out for me. But this actually ended up being a nice surprise in this box. It's a very interesting story about this guy who has to protect a geomancer against this encroaching evil, and he keeps failing through the centuries. Like, he's immortal and the evil's immortal, and he continually fails, and then all the way up to present day where, obviously we have a new geomancer and he's still trying to get it right and not fuck up. And but it was good. I mean, the artwork is great, and the story was very interesting, so this was a pleasant surprise in this book. I really enjoyed reading Valiant. I don't know if it's enough to turn me on to Valiant as a whole, but it was definitely a good read. And last but not least, that brings us to the absolute star of this box, and that is the entire Ed Brubaker Winter Soldier collection. Now this story is fantastic. This is a massive collection. Look at this. This is a lot of reading material here, and this basically just gives you the entire Winter Soldier storyline that really served as the basis for the Winter Soldier movie. And this was just fantastic. I did not have this whole collection. I'm just psyched that I have it now. I started reading through it. It's such good material. And this, the cover price on this is $25. So if you were to go out and buy this, you'd pay at least $20 for it probably. And you get it included in this box with a few other good books for quite a bit less than that. This was the book that justified the June box for me and turned everything else in the box into a bonus item. This was entirely worth the price of admission. I'm really glad to have this on my shelf. This is something that everybody, every Captain America fan, every Avengers fan, every comic book fan should read this story. And that's it for June. If you'd like to have a box of really cool graphic novels show up at your doorstep every month, you can subscribe to Comic Bento from the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.